Her billionaire husband forgot their love after the accident until her voice brought his memories back. Hello everyone, before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It's quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now, let's return to our main character. The fluorescent lights of Westbridge Private Hospital hum softly as Elena Hale steps into the quiet hallway, her fingers trembling around the handle of her purse. Her heart is pounding so loudly she can feel it against her ribs. Just 30 minutes ago, she was at home reheating leftover soup when the hospital called, "Mrs. Hale, your husband is awake. But there's something you should prepare yourself for." Those words have been twisting inside her ever since. She pushes open the heavy door to the ICU suite, expecting to see the man she married. A man whose laughter once warmed their small townhouse, whose hands used to hold her as if she were the only safe thing left in the world. Instead, Adrian Hale sits upright in the bed, his expression guarded, confused, almost distant. The machines around him beep steadily, indifferent to the storm inside her chest. For a moment she can't breathe. His dark hair is mussed, the bruise along his jaw fading. But his eyes, those storm-gray eyes, she knows better than her own reflection, don't soften when they land on her. They don't recognize her. Not at all. He studies her like she's a stranger who wandered into the wrong room. "Can I help you?" he asks, voice rough from days of silence. Elena freezes. She grips the strap of her purse until her knuckles whiten. "Adrian, it's me, Elena." He blinks, confused, a slight furrow forming between his brows. "I'm sorry, I don't know who that is." The words slice through her, sharp and merciless. She swallows hard, trying to steady her voice even though it shakes. "I'm your wife." Adrian's eyes widen for a split second, but not with recognition, only shock. His gaze flicks to the IV line, to the heart monitor, to the window, anywhere but her. "I'm married?" he murmurs under his breath, as if trying to solve a puzzle he doesn't remember assembling. Elena forces herself to move closer, though her legs feel like they might give out. She wants to reach for his hand, to feel the warmth she used to fall asleep beside every night. But the distance in his eyes stops her. The doctor steps in quietly behind her and explains that the accident caused a form of retrograde amnesia. Memories before the crash months, maybe years are blurred or missing entirely. Hearing this feels like losing him all over again. Elena nods, but her vision is already blurring with tears. She refuses to let fall. Not here. Not in front of him. Adrian glances at her again, and for the briefest moment something flickers, curiosity, maybe even a hint of familiarity, but it fades as quickly as it comes. "I wish I remembered you," he says softly. "I really do." Elena manages a fragile smile. "It's okay," she whispers, even though none of this is okay. "I'm here, that's what matters." But as she stands at his bedside, listening to the steady beep of the monitor, one thought presses heavily on her chest. How do you fight for a love your husband doesn't even remember? And yet, beneath all the fear, a quiet promise begins to rise inside her, a promise that no matter how lost Adrian feels, she will find a way to guide him back home. Elena stands at the edge of Adrian's hospital bed, her fingers curled against her palm to keep them from trembling. The doctor steps out and closes the door behind him, leaving the room wrapped in a fragile kind of silence. Adrian sits stiffly against the pillows, eyes drifting over the monitors, as if trying to make sense of the world he woke up in. Elena draws a breath and forces herself to speak. "Do you want me to stay with you for a little while?" The question leaves her lips softer than a whisper. Adrian looks at her, and though his expression remains uncertain, he does not say no. He nods once, small and careful, as if he is afraid of asking too much from a stranger. She walks toward the chair beside the bed and sits, keeping a respectful distance. The hum of the machines fills the room. Adrian breaks the silence first. How long were we married?" Elena swallows. 3 years. He looks stunned, as if she just told him an entire lifetime passed while he was asleep. "And I do not remember any of it?" "Not right now," she replies gently. "But memory is strange. It comes back in pieces." Adrian shifts his gaze to her hands, noticing the simple gold ring still on her finger. "You seem kind," he says slowly, searching for the right words. but it feels like I am talking to someone else's wife." Her heart cracks a little, but she nods. "I understand." "I do." When the nurse comes in to check his vitals, Elena steps back, giving space, watching quietly as machines record the rhythm of the man she once knew better than anyone. After the nurse leaves, Adrian asks, "Were we happy?" Elena hesitates. The truth is a mix of joy, arguments, late-night apologies, whispered promises, and soft laughter in the kitchen when he thought she could not hear him. "Yes," she says softly, "we were. Not perfect, but real." He looks down at his hands, studying the faint bruises that still mark his skin. Why did the accident happen? She stiffens for just a moment, remembering the smashed metal, the twisted guardrail, the unanswered questions. They said it was a late-night crash. They are still investigating. She does not mention the things that keep her awake at night. Not yet. Adrian closes his eyes as if trying to summon something, anything. "I keep hearing a sound," he murmurs. "A voice, soft." Elena's breath stops. "What kind of voice?" "Warm," he whispers, "like someone calling me back." Her eyes sting, but she keeps her voice steady. "It might have been a memory. Sometimes they come like echoes." He nods slowly. "I would like to hear more," echoes. She knows what he is asking, even if he cannot say it directly. So she begins talking, choosing simple things. She tells him about the old wooden house they rented when they first married, how the porch creaked whenever he stepped on the left plank, and how he insisted he would fix it but never did. She tells him about the night they stayed up until sunrise eating cereal from the box because the power went out during a storm. She leaves out anything too heavy, too intimate. For now, she gives him only gentle pieces. As she talks, he watches her with an intensity that feels both familiar and foreign. At one moment, something flickers across his face, a tiny spark of recognition, but then it fades, leaving him looking lost again. After an hour, the fatigue begins to show in his eyes. Elena stands. "You should rest." Adrian hesitates before asking, "Will you come back tomorrow?" The question is quiet, almost shy. Elena's chest tightens with hope she is afraid to feel. "Yes," she says, "I will." As she steps out into the hallway, she presses a hand to her heart, steadying herself. The man she loves does not remember her, but he asked her to come back. And somewhere, buried under the fog of his mind, he hears her voice. Maybe, just maybe, that is the first thread she can follow to bring him home again. The next morning, Elena returns to Westbridge Private Hospital before the sun has fully risen, the early light painting soft gold across the parking lot. She carries a small thermos of chamomile tea, the kind Adrian used to drink when he worked late nights at his office, though she is not sure he will remember that. Her footsteps echo gently in the quiet hallway as she approaches his private suite. When she pushes the door open, she finds Adrian awake, staring at the window, as if trying to anchor himself to something outside of his own fog. He turns his head when he hears her. His eyes do not brighten with recognition, but they soften with something like comfort. "You came back," he says. She smiles. "I promised I would." She offers him the thermos. "You used to like this. It helps with nausea after long nights. The doctor said it is normal for you to feel that way." Adrian accepts it slowly, holding the metal container with both hands, as if it might belong to a life he has not fully claimed yet. "Thank you," he says quietly, taking a sip. He pauses. "This is familiar." Relief warms her chest. "Good, that is a start." A physical therapist arrives to begin his session, and Elena steps aside but stays in the room. The therapist helps Adrian sit up straighter, gently testing his reflexes, his balance, the strength in his arms. Adrian struggles at first, wincing slightly when his ribs protest. But he keeps trying, jaw tight with determination. Elena watches the way he concentrates, the way his brows pull together, a habit she remembers from every time he tackled a problem he refused to give up on. When the therapist asks him to lift his arm higher, Adrian glances toward Elena as though seeking silent encouragement. She nods softly, and he meets the challenge. After the session, he is exhausted, sweat beading along his hairline. Elena hands him a damp towel. "You did well," she says. "I feel like I am learning how to be myself again," Adrian murmurs. "But I do not know who that man is." "You will," she replies gently, piece by piece. Later, when the room grows quiet again, she pulls a small folded piece of paper from her bag. "I found something of yours," she says. He watches her unfold it, his eyes curious. It is a short melody written in his handwriting, the lines slightly uneven, as though he wrote it on a night when inspiration hit him harder than sleep. Adrian stares at it, his breathing slowing. "Did I write this?" "Yes," she says softly. "We wrote it together one evening. You said you wanted to create something that felt like home, something warm and steady." Adrian lifts a hand to his temple, pressing lightly as if trying to coax a memory to the surface. "I remember a sound, a piano, and someone humming." Elena's heart leaps, but she keeps her voice steady. "That was us. I used to sit beside you while you worked on it." He looks at the paper again. "Could you play it for me?" She nods, surprised but grateful. She hums the melody, letting the notes fill the quiet room, her voice soft and steady. Adrian closes his eyes, listening as though each sound is a thread guiding him through a maze. At one point, his fingers twitch against the sheet, tapping lightly as if following a rhythm his mind barely grasps. When she finishes, he opens his eyes slowly. "I felt something," he whispers. "Not a memory, but a pull, like I have been here before." "You have," Elena replies. "Many times." A nurse enters to check his vitals, and Elena steps aside again, but her eyes remain on Adrian. There is a tremor of hope in the air, fragile but real. When the nurse leaves, Adrian speaks once more. "Do I have family besides you?" The question makes her inhale sharply. "Your younger half-brother, Lucas," she says carefully, choosing her words. "He has not visited yet. He travels often." Adrian nods, though the name seems to land strangely in his mind, like a puzzle piece that does not fit anywhere. He rubs his forehead. "I do not know why, but hearing that name makes me uneasy." Elena freezes for half a second before smoothing her expression. "It might be the confusion. Your mind is still healing." But inside, fear coils tightly, because she has felt that same unease for months. As she sits beside him, watching him drift into a light sleep, she knows one truth with absolute certainty. His memories are not gone forever. They are reaching for him, and he is reaching back. That afternoon, Elena returns to the hospital after stepping out briefly to grab lunch, though she barely touched any of it. Her mind kept replaying Adrian's words about Lucas, the unease in his voice, the slight tightening in his jaw as if his body remembered something his mind could not yet reach. When she enters the suite, she finds Adrian sitting up with a tablet in his hands, scrolling slowly through old photos the nurse provided to help stimulate his memory. He glances up when she walks in. "I have been trying to understand who these people are," he says, turning the tablet toward her. There are pictures of board meetings, charity galas, vacations he barely allowed himself to take, and one photo of the two of them standing in front of a Christmas tree, her cheeks flushed with cold. His arm wrapped securely around her waist. She breathes in softly. "Do any of them feel familiar?" Adrian stares at the photo, longer than the others. "Not familiar," he answers, "but this one, she looks happy." Elena's chest tightens. "She was," she says, her voice quiet but steady. Adrian studies her face, then the photo, then her again. "I want to understand the man I was. I want to remember her properly. Remember you." She forces a smile, even though her heart aches. "We will take it one step at a time." A knock at the door interrupts them. The door opens and a man in an expensive suit steps inside, his expression polished but his smile too sharp to be comforting. "Well, well," the man says, crossing the room with confident strides. "Look who finally woke up." Adrian blinks at him. "Do I know you?" The man chuckles, placing a hand over his chest. "Ouch. That hurts. I am your brother, Adrian, Lucas Hale. You really do not remember anything, do you?" Elena stands a little straighter, her entire body going alert. "Lucas," she says carefully. "The doctor mentioned that visits should be kept calm and brief. Adrian is still recovering." Lucas waves her off with a dismissive flick of his hand. "Relax. I just came to check on him. After all, he is the head of Hale Industries, and the board has been in chaos since the accident." He turns back to Adrian. "You have a lot to catch up on." Adrian shifts uneasily, his fingers tightening slightly on the blanket. "I am still healing. I cannot deal with work right now." Lucas's smile falters for half a second, revealing something colder beneath, before he masks it again. "Of course, take all the time you need. We just need you back eventually." The company needs stability. Elena watches closely. Lucas is too smooth, too controlled, too eager to direct the conversation. She steps between them slightly. Adrian's recovery comes first, she says firmly. The company can wait. Lucas's eyes flick to her, irritation flashing for a brief moment before he softens his expression. Naturally, Elena. I only meant to help. But she sees through it. She always has. Adrian watches the tension building between them, confusion clouding his face. Lucas, he says slowly, were we close? Lucas gives a tight smile. We were. Complicated. But you always relied on me. The words ring false, and something in Adrian's expression shows he senses it too. Before Lucas can say more, the nurse enters and politely informs him that visiting hours for non-family spouses are limited. Lucas huffs a breath and straightens his tie. Fine. I will come back tomorrow. Try to get some rest, brother. As soon as the door closes behind him, Adrian exhales as though someone turned off a pressure valve in the room. There is something about him, he murmurs. It feels wrong. Elena sits beside him again. You never trusted him, she admits gently, even before the accident. Adrian looks troubled. Why? She hesitates for a moment, weighing how much truth to reveal. He has always wanted control of the company, she says softly. You spent years cleaning up financial messes he created. Eventually, you had to push him out of major decisions. Adrian rubs his forehead. Then why did I keep him around? Because you believed people could change, she whispers, and because he was still your brother. Adrian leans back, breathing slowly, absorbing every word. After a long moment he asks, Elena, do you think he had anything to do with my accident? The question hangs in the air like a dark cloud. She does not answer. Not yet. But the silence is answer enough. Adrian closes his eyes, and pain flashes across his face, not from injury, but from a truth his mind has not yet fully uncovered. I want the truth, he says quietly. Whatever it is. Elena reaches for his hand, letting her fingers hover just above his before finally touching him, gently, carefully. Then we will find it, she whispers. Together. And as she holds his hand, a small but undeniable spark runs through his body, as if some part of him remembers her after all. I apologize for the wait. Here is part 5, written exactly as requested. That night, Elena stays later than usual at the hospital, sitting beside Adrian as he drifts in and out of sleep. His breathing is steady, but the lines of tension around his eyes never fully soften. She knows he is fighting something deep inside, something that sits right at the edge of memory but refuses to step into the light. When she finally leaves the room to stretch her legs, she walks down the hallway toward the nurse's station, trying to calm her racing thoughts. She barely has time to process anything before she overhears 2 nurses whispering urgently near the corner. Security found footage from the garage, one of them says. A car matching the model that hit Mr. Hale's vehicle was seen tailing him minutes before the crash. The other nurse lowers her voice. And get this, the license plate was partially visible. They are running it through the system now. The doctor thinks someone tampered with the brakes on Adrian's car before he drove off that night. Elena's heart drops. She feels the world tilt around her as she grips the edge of the wall to steady herself. Her breath catches in her throat as one horrifying truth rises above all others. Someone tried to kill her husband, and that someone might still be close. She forces herself to remain composed and walks back to Adrian's suite, but her legs tremble with every step. When she enters the room, Adrian's eyes open slowly. You left, he murmurs. I thought something happened. She shakes her head, sitting by his side again. I am here. I just needed a moment. He studies her face, noticing the strain she is trying to hide. You look frightened. Why? She swallows hard. She cannot tell him everything yet, not without proof, not without knowing how deep the threat goes. It has been a long day, she whispers. Your brother, the board, the accident, it is a lot. Adrian nods slowly. I feel like I am walking through fog, trying to find pieces of myself in places I cannot quite see. His voice is raw, vulnerable, sincere. She reaches for his hand, holding it gently. Then let me walk with you, she says, until the fog clears. He squeezes her fingers, not fully aware of how natural the gesture is, how instinctive. Moments later, a soft knock sounds at the door. Dr. Harris steps inside with a serious look on his face. Adrian, Elena, he says, nodding to both of them. "We have news regarding your accident." Adrian tenses, his grip on Elena's hand tightening. "What did you find?" "Doctor." Harris takes a breath. "Our security team reviewed the footage of the night you were brought in. The crash was not an isolated incident. A dark SUV followed your car for several blocks. And based on the condition of your brakes, it appears someone tampered with them." Adrian's face pales. "Someone tried to kill me." Elena feels his body stiffen beside her. The doctor continues. "Law enforcement has been notified, and they will want to ask both of you some questions. In the meantime, we need to keep your visitors limited." Adrian lifts his gaze toward Elena, confusion and fear swirling inside him. "Who would do that?" he asks quietly. Dr. Harris hesitates. "We cannot say yet, but until the investigation is complete, it would be wise to avoid unnecessary contact with anyone outside your trusted circle." Elena knows exactly what the doctor means, and so does Adrian. His breathing grows heavier as the realization settles. "Lucas," he whispers. Elena does not speak, but the silence becomes its own answer. After the doctor leaves, the room falls unbearably still. Adrian looks down at his hands, his voice breaking. "My own brother. Why would he want me dead?" Elena's heart twists painfully. "Because you stood in the way of what he wanted," she says softly. "You protected the company from his mistakes. You kept him from taking control." Adrian presses his palms to his eyes, as if trying to wipe away the truth. "I cannot believe this. I cannot believe any of this." She moves closer, gently placing her hand on his shoulder. "You are not alone," she whispers. "We will face this, whatever it is, together." Adrian looks up at her, his eyes filled with something fragile, yet unmistakably real. "Why do I feel safer when you are here?" he asks. Elena's breath catches. "Because you always did," she answers. He nods slowly, as if the truth resonates somewhere deep inside his lost memories. And just as she begins to stand, intending to give him space, Adrian reaches out suddenly and catches her wrist. His voice is soft, trembling. "Stay with me, please." Elena sits back down, lacing her fingers through his as his breathing steadies. Outside the room, the hallway hums with machinery and distant footsteps. But inside, a fragile thread connects them again, pulling him closer to the woman he once loved, and the life someone tried to take away from him. Elena wakes the next morning on the small couch in Adrian's suite, her neck stiff and her heartbeat already anxious. Adrian is still asleep, his breathing steady, his face relaxed in a way she has not seen since before the accident. For a moment she allows herself to simply look at him, memorizing the softness in his expression. In the last few days, she has watched him fight pain, confusion, and fragments of terror he cannot yet name. But in this quiet moment, she sees the man she once kissed goodnight, in their small townhouse kitchen, with flour on her cheeks and laughter stuck in her throat. A gentle knock sounds at the door, and she quickly stands. A nurse enters carrying a tray of breakfast, smiling politely. "Good morning, Mrs. Hale. He will need to eat something as soon as he wakes." His vitals were stable overnight. Elena nods, grateful for the normalcy, even if everything else feels like it is unraveling. The nurse leaves, and moments later Adrian stirs. His eyes open slowly, and when he sees her, something in his expression eases. "You stayed," he murmurs. "I told you I would," she replies softly. He attempts a small smile. "I feel better this morning, clearer somehow." "Good," she says, but she cannot hide the concern in her voice. Adrian notices the tension immediately. "There is more, is there not?" Elena hesitates. "The police will arrive soon. They want to ask you questions about the night of the accident." Adrian runs a hand through his hair, frustration flashing briefly in his eyes. "I do not remember anything. How am I supposed to help them?" "Sometimes talking through the details helps. Even if your mind does not remember, your body might," she says gently. He nods, though uncertainty sits heavy on his shoulders. She helps him sit up as the door opens again, and Dr. Harris steps in, followed by two detectives. Their presence fills the room with a weight that makes Adrian shift uncomfortably. The older detective introduces himself and begins speaking in a calm, steady tone. "Mr. Hale, we believe your accident may have been intentional. We are here to ask anything that might help us understand who could have had a motive." Adrian exhales, his voice tight. "My brother." Elena places a reassuring hand on his arm, but he continues. "I cannot explain it, but I feel it. Something about him is wrong. The detective exchanges a glance with his partner. We are aware of some financial discrepancies connected to him. We are looking into it. Adrian closes his eyes, rubbing his forehead. I wish I could remember. I wish I could give you something. The detective nods understandingly. Trauma can block memory. Sometimes it returns slowly, through triggers or emotional cues. Elena listens closely to every word, her mind racing. When the detectives leave, Dr. Harris approaches Adrian. There is something you can do, the doctor says. We can try a guided memory recall session. Nothing intense, just gentle prompts to help your mind create pathways to what was lost. Adrian nods. When? This afternoon, the doctor replies. But you will need rest before then. Once they are alone again, Adrian looks at Elena with a mixture of fear and determination. Will you stay during the session? She sits beside him, taking his hand gently. Of course I will. You are not doing this alone. He breathes out slowly and closes his eyes, leaning his head back. After a few minutes, he speaks again, his voice quiet. Elena, last night, when you held my hand, something happened. Her heart jumps. What do you mean? It felt familiar, he says. Not in my mind, but in my body, like a memory under my skin. A soft warmth spreads through her chest. That is good, she whispers. That is very good. I do not want to forget you, he adds, his voice cracking. I hate not knowing what we had. Elena swallows back the ache in her throat. You do not have to remember everything all at once. Just start with one thing. Start with how you feel when I am here. Adrian opens his eyes, meeting her gaze with a sincerity that hits her straight in the heart. I feel safe, he says, like I belong. The room grows quiet again, but the silence feels different now. It feels like the space between two people who are learning one another again, step by fragile step. A few hours later, the doctor returns to begin the guided recall. Elena sits beside Adrian, holding his hand as the doctor speaks softly, encouraging him to close his eyes and breathe deeply. Adrian, picture yourself in your home, Dr. Harris says. Not your company, not the boardroom, your home. Adrian's brow furrows slightly, his breathing slow and controlled. Do you see anything? Light, Adrian whispers. Warm light, a kitchen, someone humming. Elena inhales sharply. It is her. It is their home. Good, the doctor encourages. Follow it. Follow the sound. Adrian tightens his grip on Elena's hand. The humming. It is familiar. I feel peaceful. Elena leans close, her voice barely audible. I am right here. Elena, he whispers, eyes still closed. I think I remember you. And in that moment, she knows his heart has begun to find its way home. The room stays still for several long seconds after Adrian whispers that he thinks he remembers Elena, as if the walls themselves are holding their breath. Elena feels her heart leap, but she keeps her voice steady, not wanting to break the fragile thread forming inside his mind. Dr. Harris gently eases Adrian out of the recall session, reminding him not to push himself too hard. After the doctor leaves, Elena remains seated beside him, her fingers still intertwined with his. Adrian slowly opens his eyes, blinking against the light, and looks at her as though seeing her through a veil that is only now beginning to lift. I saw you, he murmurs. Not clearly, but you were there, in our kitchen, humming while you cooked. A soft smile touches her lips. I used to do that every evening. You said it made the house feel alive. Adrian nods slightly, emotion tightening his throat. It felt real, not like a dream, more like something I have missed without knowing it. Elena brushes her thumb gently over his hand, encouraging but cautious. Memories can come back in pieces. It does not matter how small. Every piece counts. The moment is tender, almost hopeful. But the fragile piece is shattered when the door swings open without a knock. Lucas strides in again, wearing the same expensive suit and the same too-smooth smile. I heard you had a recall session today. How did it go? He asks, attempting a casual tone that does not fool either one of them. Adrian stiffens immediately, the lingering warmth in his eyes fading into guarded discomfort. I remembered something, he says slowly, watching Lucas closely. Not everything, but something important. Lucas's smile falters. Really? About what? About home, Adrian replies. About Elena. Lucas flicks his gaze toward her, annoyance slipping through for the briefest moment before he reshapes his expression. Well, that is wonderful. I am sure everything will fall into place soon. Elena steps forward, placing herself slightly between the two brothers. Lucas, the doctor said Adrian needs calm, familiar energy. Maybe now is not the best time for a visit. He ignores her. Adrian, the board wants an update. They are getting nervous. I do not care about the board right now, Adrian says, his voice calmer than expected but edged with steel. I am trying to recover. Lucas smirks faintly. Recovery is important, of course, but the company needs leadership. And I am still the CEO, Adrian says firmly, whether I remember everything or not. The shift in his voice surprises even himself. It is instinctual, a part of him that refuses to bow to manipulation, even in his vulnerable state. Lucas's eyes narrow for a fraction of a second. I am only trying to help. No, Adrian replies, his voice steady. You are trying to take advantage of the situation. Elena sees Lucas's jaw tighten, anger simmering beneath his polished exterior. Careful, brother, he says quietly. Accusations like that can be dangerous. Elena's breath catches. Is that a threat? Lucas lifts his hands innocently. Of course not. I just mean that stress is not good for him. He turns sharply toward the door. I will return when you are in a more rational state. The door closes behind him with a heavy click. Adrian exhales shakily and runs a hand down his face. Every time he walks into this room, I feel like I cannot breathe. Elena sits beside him again. Your instincts are trying to protect you, even if your memory has not caught up yet. Adrian looks at her, confusion and fear turning into something fiercer. Elena, was he involved in the accident? Tell me honestly. She hesitates only a moment before nodding. We do not have proof yet, but yes, I believe he was. Adrian's throat works as he swallows, anger rising through the fog of his fractured mind. He tried to kill me, he whispers, and now he wants to finish what he started. Elena takes his hands in hers, grounding him. Not while I am here, not while we are together. You survived for a reason, Adrian. Your mind is trying to help you see the truth. His grip tightens, desperation mixing with determination. Then, help me remember. Help me piece together everything he tried to take from me. I will, she promises, her voice trembling with certainty, every step of the way. As he leans into her touch, something shifts in the room, something deeper than memory. It is the beginning of a man reclaiming his life, and the beginning of the truth rising to the surface where no lie can hide. The hours after Lucas's visit move slowly, like time itself is afraid to disturb the fragile space Adrian and Elena occupy. Adrian grows restless, his mind tugging at fragments he cannot fully grasp, his breathing shallow every time an unfamiliar sound echoes in the hallway. Elena stays close, offering quiet reassurance as he recovers from the stress of the confrontation. When afternoon light spills gently into the suite, Dr. Harris returns to check Adrian's vitals. Your progress today was significant, he says. I recommend another short recall session, but only if you feel stable enough. Adrian nods almost immediately. I want to keep going. I need to understand what happened to me. Elena squeezes his hand. You are doing incredibly well. Just take it slow. With the doctor's guidance, Adrian closes his eyes once more and settles into controlled breathing. Elena watches nervously, every muscle in her body tense with hope. Adrian, doctor, Harris says quietly, go back to that kitchen you saw earlier. Picture the warmth. Picture the light. Let your mind guide you to whatever comes next. Adrian's brow furrows as he concentrates. His fingers twitch against Elena's palm. I hear humming again, he whispers. And the smell of cinnamon, Elena inhales sharply. You used to love cinnamon rolls, she murmurs. You said it reminded you of your childhood. Yes, Adrian says, his voice growing more certain. I see, our kitchen table. And you, laughing at me because I burned the first batch. A soft laugh escapes her before she can stop it. You did. You insisted you knew how to bake, but you forgot the sugar. You teased me for weeks, he murmurs. And Elena sees something shift in his expression recognition, flickering like a flame struggling to become steady. Follow that memory, the doctor encourages. What do you feel? Adrian pauses, breathing deeply. Warmth, safety. And then, something else. His breath hitches. Fear. Elena immediately leans in, her voice gentle but firm. It is all right. I am right here. You are safe. The night of the accident, Adrian whispers. I remember being angry. Not at you, at someone else. Who? Dr. Harris asks softly. Adrian's fingers tighten painfully around Elena's hand. Lucas, he breathes. I remember arguing with Lucas. Elena feels her pulse spike. Do you remember what it was about? He was yelling. Accusing me of ruining his future. He said I took everything from him, and I told him I found irregularities in the company accounts. Large amounts missing. Elena's heart thunders. You did, she whispers. You discovered transfers under his name. He blamed you for exposing him to the board. Adrian's face twists in pain. He threatened me. He said I would not hold power forever. Then, I left the office. I was upset, distracted. I got in my car. Dr. Harris's voice remains calm. Do you remember the SUV? Adrian's breathing quickens. Yes, he whispers. I saw headlights in the mirror. Too close. Then, it rammed me. Elena grips his hand with both of hers, tears burning behind her eyes. You are doing so well. Keep breathing. Before the doctor can continue the session, the door bursts open. The detectives return, their faces urgent. Mr. Hale, the older detective says, we have new developments. The SUV from the footage has been located. It was found in a storage unit rented under an alias. Elena steps closer protectively. Whose alias? Your brother's, the detective replies. The room seems to tilt. Adrian's eyes widen, devastation and betrayal crashing over him like a wave. I knew it, he whispers. I felt it. There is more, the detective continues. We found tools for brake tampering in the same unit, and financial documents linking Lucas to large withdrawals from company accounts. We have officers locating him now. Adrian lets out a shaky exhale and leans back, overwhelmed. Elena sits beside him immediately. You survived, she whispers, her voice trembling with relief and heartbreak. He tried to destroy everything, but you survived. Adrian turns to her slowly. I survived because you were there when I woke up, he says, voice raw. Everything inside me tells me that you are the one thing I never want to forget again. Elena feels her breath catch as he reaches up, brushing the back of his fingers against her cheek with a tenderness that feels achingly familiar. Stay with me, he murmurs, until I remember it all, until I remember us. She nods, tears gathering in her eyes. I am not going anywhere. And in that moment, with truth rising from the shadows and justice inching closer, Adrian's fractured memories begin stitching themselves back together, pulled home by the one anchoring force he never truly lost, her voice. The days that follow move with a strange mixture of heaviness and hope, as the investigation closes in on Lucas and Adrian's memories, sharpen like pieces of broken glass, slowly rearranging themselves into something whole again. The morning after the detectives revealed the evidence, the hospital feels different. The tension that once shadowed every hallway has lifted, replaced by a quiet sense of protection. Officers stand discreetly near the nurses' station, and the staff moves with purposeful calm. Elena stays by Adrian's side through every moment. When she enters his room, she finds him sitting up straighter than he has in weeks, the fog in his eyes replaced with a steadiness she remembers well. You look stronger today, she says softly. Adrian nods, his voice quiet but firm. I feel stronger, and more, myself. She sits beside him, her fingers brushing his gently. Your memories? They come in flashes, he says, but they feel real now. I remember our kitchen. I remember the cinnamon rolls. I remember you humming while you cleaned the counter. A small smile touches her lips. You told me it was your favorite sound in the world. Adrian's eyes soften. It still is. Before she can respond, the door opens and the detectives step in with a grave expression. Elena's stomach tightens, but Adrian straightens his shoulders. We found Lucas, the older detective says. He attempted to flee the state early this morning, but officers stopped him on the highway. He is in custody now. Adrian exhales, his jaw tightening with a mix of heartbreak and inevitability. Did he admit anything? He did, the detective replies. Faced with the evidence, he confessed to tampering with your brakes and staging the crash. He also admitted to the theft from Hale Industries. The words hang heavy in the air. Adrian bows his head, grief flickering in his eyes. He is still my brother, he murmurs. But he made his choice, Elena says gently. And now you can finally heal. The detective nods respectfully. We will handle the legal side from here. Your only job now is recovery. After they leave, Adrian sits in silence for several long moments before he turns to Elena. All this time I thought I was losing myself. But the truth was being buried by fear and lies. She leans closer, her voice steady. And you fought your way back. You survived something unimaginable. Your mind protected you until you were ready to remember. Adrian studies her face as if rediscovering each detail. Every memory that returns, every feeling, it all leads back to you. She feels her throat tighten with emotion. I never stopped believing in you. Later that afternoon, Dr. Harris clears Adrian for discharge in a few days, explaining that he will recover better at home with physical therapy and continued support. When the doctor leaves, Elena helps Adrian sit up, and he gently takes her hands in his. There is something I need to say, he murmurs. Something I felt before the accident, and something I feel now even without the memories to support it. She looks at him, her heart racing. What is it? I loved you, he says. And even when my mind forgot, my heart did not. Every time you spoke, something inside me reached for you, even when I did not know why. Tears slip down her cheeks, soft and unashamed. Adrian, he wipes one away with his thumb, his touch warm and steady. I want to rebuild everything we had. Not because I owe it to the past, but because I feel it now, in this moment. I choose you. Not because memory tells me to, but because my heart does. She lets out a trembling breath as he lifts her hand and presses a kiss to her knuckles. Then we start again, she whispers. A new beginning. Us, choosing each other all over again. A week later, Adrian walks out of the hospital with Elena by his side, their hands intertwined, the sunlight warm on their faces. The road ahead is long, but it is theirs. And as they step into the fresh air, Adrian turns to her, his voice steady and certain. Take me home, Elena, to the life we built, to the love I remember now. And she does, guiding him forward with the voice that saved him once, and will continue to guide him for the rest of their lives.